Okay, seeing none. Did everyone get a chance to see the April 2023 meeting minutes? Okay,
I'm noticing it says Kara Dudak is absent. She's no longer on the commission.
Okay, with that correction.
I don't know how we handle that.
It was just a formality because she was a member still, just.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if there's anything we were supposed to do to, I mean, I like seeing her name there, don't get me wrong, like.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, moved by Bruce.
Second.
Second by Nancy. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Everyone who approves the minutes for April 2023 signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Next, we have public input. If there's anyone who'd like to address the commission, please approach the microphone and state your name.
Hi, BPAC. My name is Bill Brown, former chair of BPAC. And since my term ended last month and we didn't have a meeting, I wanted to make sure to come back and say thanks for all your hard work. I think everybody has unique contributions, and everybody on our commission is really excited about the goals we have and just making Urbana a safer and more bicycle and pedestrian-friendly place to be, and for all levels of income and all people that live here. And I also wanted to mention that I had a little conversation on our neighborhood email list about an old topic that we approved, or BPAC made a recommendation on downtown, walking or riding your bikes downtown on the sidewalks. There were always complaints about that. And you might remember a few years ago, you can't see it, this is from a photo from the News Gazette, but Public Works tried a symbol that we recommended that says dismount zone, walk your wheels, with a little graphic, and they put it down the sidewalk with some plastic over it for a few days, maybe a week at the most, and tried to get some input, feedback on it. And we were told that they got a lot of negative feedback, so they discontinued it and didn't take it any farther. So I always assumed one particular business owner downtown was the complainer, but when they posted to the WUNA list, and so I brought up the history, and I said, well, you know, we recommended this thing, and the one I posted on WUNA list, it says pedestrian zone, please walk your wheels, and it's a stencil. It's a pre-made stencil you can buy for $60 and then spray it on the sidewalks. And the business owner that I thought was a complainant said, oh, I love it. I don't remember that, you know. And so I sent a link to the newspaper article and everything, and they said they don't remember seeing it, and they think it would be a good idea. So I did forward it to Tim and John, and they're going to take another look at it. So just want to let BPAC know that that conversation happened, and that our recommendation from several years ago might come back, and not to us, but might be implemented at some point anyway. So that's all I have, and I don't know if the timer was on, but I think I'm actually under my time this time. Thanks a lot for your hard work, and good luck for the next 4 years or however long.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the commission? Okay, next we have unfinished business, and I believe there's none. Reports of city officials and staff.
All right, well, good evening, BPAC, and did want to recognize that Mayor Marlin has joined us this evening and wanted to give Mayor a chance to address the commission. Did you want to do that now, or do you want to wait till later? Now it's fine. All right, take it away.
Thank you. It's nice having this viewpoint for a change. I love it. I don't often get to attend board and commission meetings. In the city of Urbana, we have about 25 different boards and commissions with about 120 seats to keep filled. but I do drop in once in a while and try to watch commissions just to see what's happening and get a sense of what's going on in the community and in our own boards and commissions. So I did watch a portion of the May BPAC meeting. And as I was watching, I realized that it was long overdue for us to, number one, recognize the work of BPAC and how much advocacy and enthusiasm and volunteer work that this group has put in over the years. I also wanted to recognize the leadership of BPAC, especially Bill Brown, and for his leadership and service over the past few years. And then we have a lot to celebrate in terms of things that we have accomplished as a city, but as a community during COVID, during probably the most difficult 4 years of my life anyway, and probably yours too. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So first and foremost, I want to thank Bill Brown for his service as BPAC chair. Prior to that, he served, of course, 8 years on the Urbana City Council, and he was actually chair while he was on the Urbana City Council. So his passion for good government and his passion for pedestrian and bicycle safety was reflected in his service to the community. He has earned his city sign. He didn't take one when he left council, but I've got him thinking about it now, so he'll get his sign. And thank you, Annie Adams, for reminding me about city signs. I also want to thank Cynthia Hoyle. I know she's not here. She's no longer, but she's stepping down from some of her leadership roles as far as safe routes to school and bike to work day and that sort of thing, and her leadership with MTD. But her years and years and years of advocacy for safety in our community and for pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure. So she's earned her sign too, so I'll be reaching out to her. So we may be back with some signs to present at this body. I also wanted
Thank you.
What? Oh,
Yay, thank you.
you're welcome. And I also wanted to thank the many organizations and our community partners and our county partners who make everything we do possible. Many people have contributed, but some organizations that really need to be highlighted are the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission, the CU Mass Transit District, Urbana Park District, Urbana School District, Champaign County Bikes, and our very productive working relationships now with the University of Illinois. So I extend on behalf of the city our thanks to all of these organizations. And you guys all know what's going on, but just for the folks viewing from home, I wanted to celebrate some of our more recent accomplishments. First and foremost is we have been renewed as a gold level bicycle friendly community. This is not easily done. And it's a testament to the consistent commitment to pedestrian and to bicycle infrastructure and to safety and connectivity. So I'll pass this around. We just received the new certificate, and this will go up in the city building, probably the lobby when the construction is done, which will be probably October. But anyway, let me pass this around. This is an award, a hard-earned recognition from the League of American Bicyclists. Urbana is still the only gold-level bicycle-friendly community in the state of Illinois. Are we perfect? No, but we are really, really, really good for a community of our size and with our resources. And other organizations in Urbana or in our community who have silver level status as either businesses or college or universities are the MTD, Regional Planning Commission, the Park District for the Phillips Recreation Center, and the U of I. They all hold silver level status. So as a community, we are doing an excellent job, and we will continue to maintain that excellence and do even more in the future. We also have 2 grants to celebrate that will be huge improvements to the connectivity and safety for pedestrians and bicyclists in the community. These are Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program grants from the Illinois Department of Transportation. These are for bicycle and pedestrian shared use paths. Again, this effort was coordinated by, these grants were coordinated by the Regional Planning Commission and city staff and partners. They took the lead on writing the grants. The best thing, well, there's many best things about these grants. One of the best things is about the award money included the local match, which you don't always get. So that was amazing. We got $1.1 million for the Florida Avenue shared use path. That'll go from Lincoln to Race Street on the south side of Florida. It was part of the overall vision for the Florida Avenue corridor improvement. We didn't get the actual grant to rebuild the pavement. We'll work on that again. But the shared use path is huge, and it's a milestone because it's on university property. I never thought I would see the day, and it was one of the best days of my life as mayor to be upstairs in our conference room when we had everybody around the table. Representatives from the MTD, from the city, from the Regional Planning Commission, from the University of Illinois, with blessing from the president of the U of I and the chancellor at the U of I, and facilities and services. And all of them agreed, I know, heart attack, right? All of them agreed that we could agree to apply for this grant and that we wanted this. And President Killeen himself said to me, and it was just wonderful. He said to me, well, it's about safety, isn't it? And I said, yes, it is. And yes, it is, and thank you for recognizing that. So we will break ground on this milestone piece in our bicycle pedestrian network hopefully next year. And you'll all be there to celebrate that. So that was about $1.5 million, or $1.1 million for that. The other was $1.5 million for the shared use path from Main Street to Washington Street, which is going to be significant in that it connects the new Urbana Park District Health and Wellness Center, which is under construction on Washington Street, with neighborhoods to the north. And it will connect also with the Kickapoo Rail Trail. So that's another big missing link in our network that we will now be able to construct. And again, the focus was on safety and connectivity. And again, our community partners were instrumental in making that possible. So we're really thankful for those two grants. And it's not often you get an email saying, we got 2 grants in one day. So that was a really good day. And it comes because of the extremely hard work of our partners. In the works, we have a highway safety improvement program application, which is for a grant that will address the intersection of Race Street and Florida Avenue. And then we have reapplied, again, under the leadership of RPC for the SS4A, the Safe Streets for All, which is a countywide, really with our countywide partners, for a focus on, in Urbana, it'll be the focus on Lincoln Avenue. And I know they've reduced the overall ask to actually improve our chances of getting the money, but the emphasis and the priority is on safety improvements with a focus on equity. And I've been to 2 meetings now, national conferences with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, meeting with federal officials and representatives from DOT and various federal agencies, and up and down the line, if your applications don't focus on equity and addressing long-standing inequities, then your chances of getting these grants are not very high. So this grant was written with that emphasis as well.
That's one thing I was going to add is you were saying safety, but also like equity of movement. I mean, people under 16 can't drive cars. And, so age equity, and then we're also talking about resource equity. So all these wonderful projects that you're mentioning all fit really well with that. So thank you. Yeah, equity is really, it's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
And that's the story. And that's the story you have to tell in these grants these days. And it's also location, equity and location, where these projects are, and how you connect people with their work, with their schools, and that sort of thing. So that's where we need our community partners to help us tell this story, because we're all in it together. Couple of other things. So then I started going down the list of all the things that are in the works, and came up with like almost 2 pages, single space, so bear with me a few more minutes. We are, and I want to single out Regional Planning Commission for thanks as well tonight in terms of their long-term partnership with the city of Urbana. And again, I go back to COVID. We've all lost staff. We lost staff during COVID. We were all doing 2 or 3 jobs to keep the city running during COVID, and yet we made a huge amount of progress because partners like RPC extended our staff capacity. And I go back to 2018 when they obtained a grant from the Illinois Department of Transportation, $100,000 to study the feasibility of extending the Kickapoo Rail Trail from Route 130 through downtown Urbana to the corner of Lincoln and University. We got a $20,000 grant from Carl Foundation Hospital, but the other $100,000 came through the efforts of RPC. And then they conducted the feasibility study, which lays the groundwork for extending that trail in the future, which is along the railroad track, which is a great dream of ours. They've helped organize Bike to Work Day for several years. They've written the 2020 Urbana Pedestrian Master Plan, the Bicycle Wayfinding Plan, and they conducted the underlying study of how to connect Weaver Park to the KRT, and that underlines the Baker Lane, the side path that we got the ITEP grant for. So all of these things contributed. And from a community perspective, they were the lead agency to work with the city of Urbana to develop the 2022 allocation plan for the home ARPA funds, which is for affordable housing throughout Champaign County. And they also have a multi-year contract with the city to administer our $10 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds. They worked with us for about a year. They led the effort to develop our concept plan to identify the priorities that we eventually funded. And they developed with us a thorough, intentional, fair, and very transparent allocation process. The City Council ended up by distributing $10 million to 25 different community organizations for some really transformative projects. And if there was an award that I could apply to for the process that we developed together, I'm going to do it, because I am very, very proud of that process. And again, they are an extension of our staff in many ways. So there's no one here from RPC tonight. I know the relatively new staff member, Allison, was here at the May meeting, so I will be extending our thanks to them. But looking ahead, we are going to be doing a partial special census. Again, RPC will be helping, at least advising on that. And you might ask, well, what's that got to do with BPAC? Well, a lot of the transportation funds that we receive are based on population. All of our local motor fuel tax distribution from the state, for example, is based on a per capita basis. We lost 7% officially from our population in the 2020 census, largely due to the fact that the census was taken the week after the university shut down and a lot of people went home. So it looks like we will be conducting a partial special census. The entire cost of that falls on the city. Probably it'll be done next spring, but it's incredibly important that we regain at least some of that population so we can continue to pay for the infrastructure improvements and the education that we want to do for the city of Urbana for bicycle, pedestrian, and vehicular, well, multimodal forms of transportation. You may have seen the presentation on the public realm study that was done. That's got a lot of connection with pedestrian and bicycle activity in the city. There's going to be a presentation at the rescheduled city council meeting on next Monday, which will be on how we're going to activate some of the public spaces in the lighter, faster, cheaper approach. And Kelly White and her team at 40 North are also going under contract with the city to help activate spaces. So you'll start to see some exciting things happening in downtown Urbana in the coming months. We've also applied for, I think they're called asphalt art grants from Bloomberg Philanthropies. And it'll be for our first street art mural to help with traffic calming at the farmers market. So the application is for a installation in the area on the north end of the farmers market. So it makes it easy for us because we own the parking lot, working with Lincoln Square, the owner of Lincoln Square, who rents the parking lot, and this will be kind of a demonstration of what asphalt art looks like and what it can do, and we hope to do many more of them because I think they're really cool. And I think they have a very important function in our overall appearance of our city, plus in traffic calming and activation of spaces. So I'm excited. I hope we get it. We applied for $5,000 and we'll match it with $5,000. So I think Bloomberg can afford that. So we'll see. Anyway, and then there's the Urbana Amble coming up, which is a great example of getting people out on their bikes and getting them walking the streets of Urbana, looking at yards, and I finally know what those yellow sticks with green ends were for, because I saw them and I'm like, what is that for? Anyway, lots to be excited about, but mainly I just want to say thank you for everything you've done. I want to extend our public appreciation for the partners who really allow us to do what we do. We're a little bitty city of now officially 38,336 people, which we hope to change. I'm looking at Bill because he's been helping us with the maps. But we really do, achieve a whole lot more than cities 10 times our size. And I've been since I've been attending the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I've been exposed to a lot of cities much larger than we are, and we have so much to be proud of, and that's what I'm wanting to celebrate tonight. So thank you, everybody. And I do apologize I can't stay for the whole meeting, but.
Thank you, Mayor. You covered everything I could have and a lot more. I was just going to add that, since we've met, we've passed the capital improvement plan, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys had about that. We went into some detail in the council meetings. I think one thing I might bring up, and I forget if I brought this up before to the commissioner or not, but we have about 2.5 years remaining in the Cunningham Avenue TIF. So the TIF funds are going to expire at the end of 2025, and so we're going to find effective, productive ways to use those funds to improve the infrastructure in the Cunningham Avenue TIF district, which is basically Cunningham Avenue. It even goes as far north as like Frasca Airport. You encourage you guys to think about that if you kind of go around that part of town. If there's things that jump out at you, I'd be very open to feedback. I mean, we're going to definitely focus on some of the existing infrastructure we have, sidewalks, streetlights, great opportunity. But I'm also going to try to look at some of the safety along that corridor, working with IDOT to identify if there's some opportunities for us to find some safety improvements. But outside of that,
and for Cunningham, are you you're thinking street infrastructure, or are you thinking of like shipping containers in parking lots where people can start small businesses?
Well, I think that, that I'm thinking of the infrastructure, but the bigger picture, we've got our economic development team and thinking of ways to use TIF money. So I think they'd be open to that for sure. Yeah.
I just recently met someone who's like completely obsessed with that corridor, so she'll be very excited too.
Yeah, I know we'll be cracking open the Cunningham Avenue, master plan. It was from back in the early aughts, cracking it open, see what low-hanging fruit we have there too for some efforts.
What about the connection between the Rebuild Illinois funding that was announced and the city projects? You've already begun the Lincoln Avenue washer to Killarney and the Florida Avenue studies. Was that with the funding that was announced?
Not necessarily. We're going to use some surface transportation block grant funds that we're getting through CUATS, through our Metropolitan Planning Organization. We applied for that money for the design effort for those two projects, and so like our region gets like $2 to $3 million every year for that. So that was kind of regular funds. I think the ITEP grants really tied into the rebuild program. It came a little earlier than Pritzker's recent announcement, but that's nominally what's paying the local match is the rebuild program. So right now, I don't know that anything's really directly come from the recent announcement, but we look forward to learning more about that. And,
I strongly recommend that people go back and look at John Zeman's and Tim's presentation to the City Council on the capital improvement plan. It was really, really illuminating and
Thanks.
well done.
Thank you.
And that was, what week was that? That was,
That was the
late.
last 2 weeks, last 2 Mondays of June.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's up on YouTube.
Okay. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Well, I would just like to shout out to Allison from RPC, who was kind of stuck in the BPAC sandwich last time. And the BPAC sandwiches, we're going to advocate for the city of Urbana. And Allison is like, there's only me, and I'm advocating for Champaign County. And BPAC's like, well, we're going to advocate for the city of Urbana. We know we're going to lose, but we're going to advocate for the city of Urbana. Because we know the city of Urbana does not have, I think a lot of people get stuck in the BPAC sandwich, which is, it's nobody's job. Like, it's nobody's job to be in charge of, it's no one's full-time job. Like, we have a full-time person in charge of we have a full-time person in charge of environmental stuff. We have full-time people who kind of have to wrangle their commissions and their people on their commissions. And BPAC's kind of, I appreciate all the work everyone puts into it. I just think it ends up, because there's nobody at the city whose job it is, it ends up, as a person who works for a university, and I get put on a lot of different commissions where I'm like, I don't care. Like, you tell me who to vote for. Like, you tell me what to do. So that would just be my only, I feel bad for Allison because I think she got stuck in this situation where we were all advocating for something, and she was like, we actually don't have the she's like, RPC does not have the resources for this, and, to apply for that thing. And I do know that there are going to be lots and lots of money coming from the federal administration for the type of infrastructure that we're all interested in, which is, equitable, which is environmentally, sensitive, which, I've waited my whole life to have, someone like Buttigieg in the federal government. So I'm really excited, and I hope we can get that money. And I know RPC is going to be trying to get that money. And I know Champaign's going to be trying to get that money. And I know Urbana's going to be trying to get that money. And it's like, I just think, I would just like to, I know Bill put it in our end of year report. I really would just love if we could get a part-time person or a full-time person who's dedicated to kind of wrangling who we are and what we do, because everyone in Urbana throughout their day at one point is a pedestrian. And it's just really important. And I do think it's like one of the greatest things about this city is it's bike friendly, it's walk friendly, and it's easy to get around. We've kept the city small. I think it's a great city. So for those reasons. So not because I can drive quickly everywhere. That's deeply unimportant to me. But and I think many people in the city. So that's what I have to say.
Well, driving quickly everywhere is kind of something that she alluded to, coordinating transportation across the entire region, whereas RPC does not have the statutory ability to establish policy for Urbana. They do, and I did present at the technical CUATS committee a lengthy appreciation for the work, especially of Gabe Lewis, in all the work that he's done for bicycle and pedestrians. And it's kind of a shame, really, that RPC can't have, and maybe we'll be hearing more about this with the Gold Friendly report, that someone doesn't have a regional ability to focus on bike and ped issues for the entire community. Champaign, Urbana, and outlying parts of the county. But there is no question that RPC cannot step in and do the job that Urbana needs to do. Or RPC is currently not even breaking out statistics by city. So, you know, in their long-range transportation plan, they announced this back in 2018. I've brought it up several times since then, that because they mainly use a 5-year rolling average, they really aren't able to look at the long-term trends. And then when you add not breaking it apart by city, we can't look at what policies might be contributing to some of the issues we're having. So they're not able to replace us, but thank heavens we have them. I mean, they are absolutely wonderful at what they do. They just can't do everything for Urbana, and I think we all know that. But they are absolutely fantastic at
We
what
are
they
so
do.
fortunate to have that high-quality level of an organization that understands and knows the kind of needs, like you were saying, it's a small city, right? They're not coming in and trying to do like Schaumburg, you know, infrastructure. They're not trying to do like suburban infrastructure. They're like, no, we get it. You are an urban you're an urban city with a small footprint, and you know, so they don't propose crazy things that we're all like, what are you thinking? You know, so we are just incredibly fortunate to have them and to have them, you know, work with us and represent us and basically create the designs they're creating.
The level of technical
Right.
expertise is a national showcase, and I have no doubt about that.
I don't want to speak for RPC, but a month or two ago, they did update their data portal online to have locational data for crashes. So I don't know if they have tables summarizing Urbana or Champaign, but they do have coordinates so that someone could download that and summarize for the past 5 years, up to, I'm not sure if it was 21 or 22. And
Right,
I
right,
think
as
that's-
if they would just highlight that in their reports, because it needs analysis and discussion. But yes, they do have the data, and the fact that they weren't separating it in some of the reports recently, just since 2018. This is not a long-term policy. Before that, the reports were wonderful. I had no complaint. So yes, they have the data, and to share it and analyze it would be great. And maybe they feel it's outside their purview. They're viewing all of the county as broken into something called rural and urban. And that may be their purview, then in which case, you know, we're going to have to spend more of our own money and time to analyze what's going on. Yes.
I do know that that's how some of the grants are now classified. You're rural or an urban. We're now a rural community. So, yeah. For the RAISE, wasn't it for the RAISE grant?
Oh, they did classify us as rural for.
We qualify as rural
Yeah.
because of our population.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
figure. But anyway, the other thing is I wanted to let you know, our top priority, our high priority now is you may have heard that our wonderful grants manager, Sheila Dodd, retired as of Friday after over 30 years of service in the community. Braden Belcher is our interim grants manager, but we absolutely need to replace and fill that vacancy. And the wonderful Lily Wilcock, of course, has been hired by the city of Champaign. So we've lost a planner. So our ongoing staffing challenges continue, and we're not the only organization. There's a lot of transition going on. But yeah, so those are the
And,
things
I
we'll
mean,
be
Allison was
focusing
really
on.
clear about that. She's like, there's only me, right? Like,
Exactly.
She's like, it's just me. And we were like,
People are doing the jobs
Right.
of 2 or 3 people.
Right.
And no matter how hard we've expanded our HR department to permanently just to be able to keep up with our vacancies. And we've made great strides, but we still have a number of vacancies to fill. And some of those are really, you know, those are big shoes to fill. So,
and honestly, it's not gonna, I mean, if you look at the retirement cliff is a word for it, but if you look at like retirement ages and what's happening, this is going to be a continual, ongoing, I mean, I'm seeing it at the university. Like, people are stepping off, and we're having a hard time filling at that senior level again. Like,
at all
it's-
levels. for
yeah,
that
at all
matter. Yeah,
levels.
yeah.
I was not trying not to say that, but yeah.
We have a lot of competition right across the street. So so again, I am extremely proud of what we have accomplished given the challenges over the last few years, and our community partners, and not just RPC, but you know, MTD, all of our community partners, public, private, are just invaluable because they expand our capacity and allow us to do what we've done. And we'll continue to try our hardest.
And just the quality, I mean, just the quality and the high level of all of these organizations, you
Yeah.
know? Like even like Prairie Cycle Club, which is a recreational riding club in the city, you know, in the, I say the county, I guess. I mean, just the high level of like what they do and how they perform, and it's just really impressive. We just have a really great, I feel like, you know, Urbana in particular is a great culture of walking and biking, and people do drive with care, and it is, it's just very admirable.
And we've been doing speed studies, so we'll be addressing that.
Okay.
I just said before I die, I'm gonna get my crosswalk on Washington at Anderson. I swear I will.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I think I forgot
I
that
know,
I'm
I
the
know. It's
chair
gonna take
of
a
this
while.
meeting. Sorry. I'm sorry, but we need to move on to the next item. Thank you very much, Mayor and John, for your reports. Our next item is, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong agenda. Like, that doesn't look right. The new business, bicycle-friendly community report card. We have a presentation by Jeff Yockey from Champaign County Bikes. I understand that he was very helpful in the application to the League of American Bicyclists for this honor. You haven't tried to use it yet. It's probably very slow. Thomas, do you need to put your presentation on the computer as well, or? Then I think we'll move on to a recognition of Bill Brown's service to BPAC while we're organizing that. Yeah. Okay. I have a short statement here. I hope it's mostly accurate. It's might be some impressions. I don't think we need to make him stand. We can see him. He may disagree with parts of this. I have not run this by him. Okay, in June 2017, the Urbana City Council member Bill Brown was appointed the chair of the Urbana Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission and assumed the position in July of 2017. June 2023 was his last month, marking 6 years on BPAC, 2 years beyond his tenure on City Council. His contributions to BPAC have been informed by an exceptional level of expertise in geographic information systems, statistics and databases, and on-the-ground bicycle commuting and recreational riding. This kind of talent is certainly not to be expected of a commission chair, but he also brought an open and inquiring mind, a very diplomatic yet relaxed attitude, and the ability to work with local government. He was willing to research topics and then advocate, going well beyond just the annual report presentations. He attended the Traffic Commission on several occasions, including supporting the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit for Lincoln Avenue the request for left turn restrictions at Water and Vine, and protecting our bikeway and bike lane infrastructure and cyclists with parking restrictions. He created maps advocating the expansion of snow shoveling locally and helped Cynthia Hoyle present this to council. He researched and presented traffic calming toolkits, specific intersection crosswalk treatment suggestions, IDOT specifications for rumble strips on Windsor Avenue, among many other things. He researched crash statistics in the local databases and provided a technical review of RPC's urban safety plan. He supported the city in ITEP grant applications and equity quality of life and capital improvement plan recommendations for sidewalk investments. He helped BPAC navigate the tragedy of local deaths and crashes with actionable resolutions and recommendations. For example, a recommendation for speed limit reductions, and KRT connectivity under renewed equity lens for the pedestrians and cyclists along East Main, and left turn restrictions at Main and Vine. I do not strictly recall who brought up the need for better formal communications from BPAC, but it was during Brown's tenure and he supported this improvement. Several members of BPAC learned to call for a resolution once an actionable item was discussed. Bill was the one who made sure the item had the appropriate agenda notice and most often wrote or revised the resolutions to make sure their intent was clear. He was supportive of resolutions even where he may have voted in opposition. For Vision Zero, while he was initially skeptical, after thorough research, he created and presented a persuasive talk with statistics and online videos to the City Council that led to its adoption in October 2020. He personally collaborated with the U of I in applying, including Sarthak, in applying for a UI Community Research Partner Grant for Vision Zero, which was not obtained in the year of COVID. He's pushed for increased social media and on-the-ground presence for BPAC. Over his tenure, the work of BPAC chair increased as the city experienced increased staff turnover. Yet the productivity of BPAC increased as measured by the number of meetings per year, traffic commission interactions, and resolutions passed. He leaves BPAC in good shape to carry on its mission after a very eventful 6 years of service. He's increased it, its goals have been increased and were formalized thanks to John Zeman's suggestion, and he supported this strongly and many other improvements. And for this, I offer my heartfelt thanks for his contributions. Would anyone else like to speak? May have overwhelmed. Okay. Thank you.
Bill, as long as you're here, I just really want to say thank you. You really you have a really great understanding of ordinances, how they work. Whenever we would say, like, we should do this kooky thing, you'd be like, well, I know you want to do the kooky thing, but in order to do the kooky thing, we're going to have to do all this other stuff. And I hope you continue to listen to BPAC in your spare Tuesday evenings, and let us know when we're getting off track, and let us know, like, if there's something that we can do differently or if there's like a workaround, because I don't think any of us here have the kind of background you have. None of us served on city council. None of us know kind of what people are looking for, what they want, and that level. So seriously, really, thank you so much. You've just been an invaluable resource, and we're just so fortunate to have had you serve.
Thank you. Okay. With that, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the bicycle-friendly community report card presentation from Jeff Yaki, who I introduced earlier, sorry.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Glad to get to share a good report and kind of look at the highlights together, look at maybe where some of the ways it's pointing us to. I'm going to kind of run through it quickly. We can pause a little bit if you see something you want to also chip in on, but then we'll kind of come back. I've got a list of things to look at once we're done going through the 5 pages of the report. You probably got it, John. It was in John's attachment for the meeting tonight. So a little bit of context. Today is the 5th day in the last 8 weeks I've been in Urbana. Most of those 7 weeks I was in Houston, and it's hot down there, so feels like I'm in northern Wisconsin at the moment. This is beautiful here. There's 7 million people that may want to move up here, so we got to get ready. We can solve where's the mayor? We're going to solve our population problems. But it's good to be here. So I've had a chance to look at this briefly, so I'm going to hit a few highlights with you. Okay, Urbana Gold since 2014. I was here in 2014, and when we were awarded gold, we felt like we just got to that level with our fingertips, you know. We were excited. We were the only gold level community in the state. We'd been working hard. The wind was at our back. We were throwing out all the sail we could. So we had a lot of momentum, a lot of things we could be excited by, but we felt like we just got there. And then 4 years later, we applied and felt like we're growing into that recognition, right? I think it's fair to say with the pandemic, with the economic challenges, with a lot of the other stuff we've been through, we've held our position, right, as gold. That's what we were awarded for. And so that's saying something in the midst of everything that's going on. But there's still something beyond gold. It's called platinum. And there are other places that are out there, and I think we can kind of regain some momentum. This is really a template, along with our bike master plan, to identify some of those areas where we can grow into more significantly. And as the mayor said, you know, in real estate, it's location, location, location. In the future, it's equity, equity, equity. And we got a lot to grow there. These are all our, you know, everybody in Urbana is we need to seek the welfare of our whole city, right? And not just for the neighborhoods close to campus, but all the neighborhoods. And we need to be able to think about that with bicycles too. So, hey, the 5 E's scores, these are percentages out of a total possibility of what we could score in those areas. This is what it looks like if you're a gold level community. So there's room beyond that, and you start getting recognized as a platinum level community or diamond. The last column is the max score that another community scored in this category in this round. So it's a little bit of way to compare it. Probably any community got all those numbers in the right-hand column. Some were ahead in engineering, some were doing some great things in equity. Just where are we compared to where some of the best people are at? And, you know, encouragement's a category we know how to work well. Other people are doing that really well. Equity is a growth area for everybody, right? So that's true. So I think overall, this gets broken out farther in the report. I'm going to touch base on a little bit of it. But we're sort of like everybody else, and we've got opportunities to grow. Key outcomes are commuter ridership, 4.8% overall. These are just on kind of singular numbers. I think we want to see that grow, right? It's something that's way higher than the national average. I can tell you that in Houston, where there are 6 lanes of traffic in one direction all over the place, we have real opportunities here as bicycle commuters, but we can grow there. Bicycle mode share, that's wasn't reported. I think that's an opportunity, and is highlighted in the back in the recommendations, that we can set a goal there and think about as we want to be a multimodal city, and we think about traveling by vehicles, traveling by public transportation, walking and cycling, where we want that bicycling level to be. And if that's high, that's going to mean that other things are going to change. I mean, that should free up parking. That means we could reallocate space on the road for bikes. We can reallocate parking lots for other uses. I think that's pretty exciting. I'm just going to kind of fly past the crashes and fatalities for a couple reasons. One, Thomas is back here going to talk about Vision Zero, and so I'm not going to steal his thunder. Two, these are just small little numbers, and there's a lot to unpack in terms of trends and percentages and other things. So not a lot we can do here tonight. Going back up here, Bicycle Friendly America program stats. The mayor already highlighted some of our businesses that are involved as bicycle-friendly businesses. Sarthak is actually working on the University of Illinois' Bicycle-Friendly University application right now, and he'll turn it in August. They've done a lot of work over there. They're silver. They've got a shot at being recognized as gold. I think they're doing a good job in the League of American Bicyclists as the standards aren't static and the applications are becoming more dynamic. So the bar's going up a little bit, but the U of I has a lot that they can point to, and later in the fall, we'll see how that turns out. Illinois Bicycle Friendly State ranking, 15 at the moment. That's 15 out of 50, so that puts us up in the upper quartile. The Ride Illinois board has set a goal for the whole state to break into the top 5 in the nation. So, hey, good for them, right? And what we do here is a part of that, and they are real partners. When good things happen in the state, that'll happen for us. As good things happen to us, we can share that with others. Population, the mayor already talked about that in the special census, so I hope that happens. I think, as I explored this earlier, all these asterisks about poverty rates, household income, language, percent of vehicles that have no cars, part of this reflects that we're counting undergrads in some of this. Is that correct?
In the census, yeah.
In the census. So as we look at our poverty rate, that looks at what an undergraduate is making as a resident of Urbana. So I think that is a real true asterisk there.
You just mean students in general.
Huh?
All populations of students, not just undergraduate students, right?
Oh, yeah, graduate.
All
yeah,
populations,
that's
yeah.
right.
Okay, all student populations.
Yeah.
And then the percent of households with no vehicle, we're including students.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
And again, that's where that commuter ridership comes in. It comes from that census question.
yeah, it's tricky, and I think we had to put some of these things in our specific Urbana context. So I'm just pointing that as we look at this first page and it's hitting some things, we have to put an asterisk there and say, how does that work out in Urbana?
Yeah, and I think the asterisk is good to talk about just for 1 second. I got
go.
feedback from IDOT for our ITEP grants is, for example, why we got all the local match paid was because of the demographics of where these projects were. Well, for Florida Avenue, it was because of the student population. In Baker's Lane, it was because of the non-student population. And they have like similar numbers, if you know what I'm talking about, like household income and other statistics, but obviously fairly different populations.
So they're both under-resourced communities.
By the numbers, yes.
Go down to that level of,
It's at the census,
Granularity?
it's like at the census block level,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, looking down at the bottom of page 1, there's 3 questions that come up in the community survey. So after Gabe and those folks at the Regional Planning Commission assembled all the data that you guys provided in the City Public Works and the rest of us chipped in for this big, long application, they sent out a survey, and we spread that out among Champaign County Bikes and the folks that are participating with us, the people in Urbana that participated in Bike to Work Day. We sent them the link, the Prairie Cycle Club. And overall, we had like 100, well, depending on 150 some people respond to this. So that's fairly good. And I printed it out. It's 35 pages of comments. And it's good. It's really good reading. And there were a number of questions that they asked.
Jeff, that's our community in a binder there. 35 pages of comments, right there. Like, I've never seen a better physical representation of Urbana than that.
Yeah. Yeah,
35,
it's good.
35 pages of comments, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, their report, I mean, and hey, it's in like 7-point font, so it takes a little while to read through there. I lost track of how many times bike paths was there, and I was going to go to the word count, in the tools section just to quantify that, and I ran out of time. But 3 questions, and just to let you know, these are questions 65, 66, and 67. So this is deep into this survey. Out of the respondents, how satisfied are you with the infrastructure and bike? How satisfied are you with how this community is designed for making bike riding safe? And 21% said very satisfied, and 52% somewhat satisfied. So we're sitting there at 70% of the active cyclists who responded, feeling pretty good. Remember, we're trying to really work on the people that aren't yet riding to get them more comfortable. And so you'll see some of that show up. But anyway, it reflects the fact that we've got a lot we can show and have done well. So that's good. Is it safe or dangerous to ride a bicycle in your neighborhood? Again, these are cyclists who have responded. 37% said it's safe, and 59% people have said it depends. Right? It's contextualized. What time, which road are you talking about? Am I thinking about this for me or for my child, right? So anyway, we got a lot of work to do there. And what is the number one thing that you would like to see your local government change to make in this community for bicyclists? Number 1, improve existing bike lanes to protected bike lanes. So we got bike lanes, we want them to be protected bike lanes. City of Chicago just changed, 130 miles or something, or 300 miles, some large number of their bike lanes to protected bike lanes. More bike paths, so separated off-street infrastructure. And then 3, reduce speeds. And I've already written Amelia Neptune from the League of American Bicyclists, who oversees this whole area of Bicycle Friendly America program, to say, I think that number would have even been higher if it just said reduce speeds on neighborhood or residential streets without the qualification of traffic calming. Even not all the cyclists understand traffic calming or road diets, right? So that's a qualified statement. I think if you took that off and just said lower speeds on residential neighborhood streets, probably would have been even higher than 12%. So what this is saying is that our cyclists, what they're looking for the community to do is to protect them from fast-moving, heavy vehicles being driven by distracted people. And all those bicyclists are also motorists who drive fast-moving, heavy vehicles, and we're prone to distraction too. So we're talking about ourselves as well. So is it good to be a cyclist here? Yes. Are people, glad for all the things we have? Yeah. Do they feel safe? It depends. And what would make it better? Protection against fast-moving, heavy, prone to distracted vehicles. And somebody just said, imagine that you pulled out of your neighborhood and all of a sudden you found yourself on a runway with a 737 coming in behind you, right? In a car, that would feel like you're something big is coming up on you in a hurry, right? Well, if you're on a bike, that's sort of what it feels like. And so anyway, this is an area of growth. The cyclists have highlighted it, and we can go there. I think I've probably already gone too long. To hit this, this isn't going to highlight up here, but in the engineering area, I think the bicycle network is both an area they weighted really heavily, and we got a lot of room to grow into that. If we look at education, they weighted very heavily youth bicycle education. So there's not only what's your score, but then they have a weight. They have another factor in there, and then they go into how they do that. But they weight youth bicycle education and inclusive education, which would be the equity piece, high, and we have areas to grow in that. In encouragement, we score pretty high there overall. One of the areas where the lowest, we scored 2 out of a possible 17, is encouragement policies, programs, and partnerships. I don't exactly know what that all means, but we can dive back into the report, see which of the questions they're highlighting, and then we can see how we can work on that in the future. So there's a lot to mine here that's really valuable as we look forward. Evaluation and planning, they highlight planning, funding, and implementation. They weight that to 21%, and it's the area that we scored the lowest in. I think you guys were talking about that earlier. Do we have somebody that wakes up every day and thinks about bicycles in Urbana? No. But we're also a small community, so how do we get to that? One of the recommendations is maybe Champaign and Urbana could go together in the county, and somebody their funding is shared and has sort of a role in all the three communities becomes that person. It's an idea how to make that happen. Alternately, maybe we find external funding for that doesn't come out of the Urbana budget at the moment, but we find a way to pay for that through a grant, a gift. Somebody retires early and dedicates a couple of years of their life. I think he's working on something else. But we find somebody to wake up and do that. And then the last, the equity and accessibility. Again, equity and accessibility in engineering, we got 2 out of 44 points. I'll have to dive in to see what that really looks like. They weight that pretty heavily, but they also weight evaluation and planning and education equally pretty heavily. And so we got room to grow there. Okay, feedback to improve. This is going to be really hard to see on your screen at home, even if you're looking at your screen now. We talked about staff time as one of the things that it just happens that way, right? I've been a part of discussions at churches. It's like, when do you hire the next staff? If you got one pastor, when do you hire the second one? Usually it happens is when your first one's burned out, and can't keep up. But the real thinking is you hire for growth, right? If you want to grow in the area of youth, then you hire, somebody else to work in that area. And so if this is really important, then you hire for growth, and then we'll see improvements across the board in cycling. It talks about keep up the complete streets. That's good. It comes back and looks at our master plan and some of the things that we've talked about there, including protected bike lanes, and it recommends that we move ahead and think about that because people are asking for it. It's in our plan. It would be a great place to move into. I think it pulls out an example that's saying 4 miles of your roadways that show speeds above 25 miles per hour are marked in sharrows. And they're like, that's a bad combination. Fast-moving traffic and no room for a bike lane. And it's like, you got to look at that area. And maybe you can reduce the speed of that area. If there's no room between curb to curb, then maybe there's a way to change the speed and because sharrows really aren't working as, they're not a really effective strategy. So it gives us some things that we can go back. Where are those 4 miles? And what are our opportunities to look at that? So that's good. It talks about lowering speeds overall in our community. And I really like this sentence here. Collaborate with other communities around Illinois to advocate for state-level statutory 25-mile-per-hour limits on residential neighborhood streets. I think that is really brilliant. It was a new idea when I read, sort of not a new idea, but it was. We as advocates have been advocating for that. We have been working on legislation. We've been to Washington talking about that. We're going to Springfield and talking about that. But hey, why is it just advocates out there? How about our city officials, our city council people, our engineers also working on this together with Ride Illinois, our state advocacy organization, and friends in other communities who had the same need, including Chicago. So I'll come back to that just briefly a little bit more. It talks about the bike share program, and I think and equitability. One of the most exciting things that I have seen in the last year or so is how our bike share program is being used by people in the communities that are in our community that are under-resourced in terms of employment, housing, accessibility in all levels. those bikes are being used. And they're using public transportation, but they're also using these e-bikes all over our community. And to get to work, to travel, some of those you can ride 2 people on them. You see students do it, but I've seen other people in the community doing that. And so I think that's huge in this whole equity thing. It highlights our problems with kids being able to ride to school. That's really true. It talks about a traffic garden program. Maybe you kicked that around before, but an area that's set aside in a park or some space where you recreate small streets and you put some stop signs in. It's a place where kids learn to ride bikes, and they learn and can be coached easily about how to behave as you get close to an intersection and where you go. Peoria's got one. Other communities are putting them in. It's interesting, too, that, and Audrey, tell me when I need to stop if I'm going too long, but all this stuff kind of builds. But more and more, we're getting asked to teach people how to ride a bike, right? Not how to ride safely, but just plain how to ride. And we'll have a bunch of kids, and we'll be doing a bike rodeo, and they'll say, I mean, even on Juneteenth ride, right? With the Don Moyer's Boys and Girls Club, we were taking them on a ride for Juneteenth. We were out there with all these bikes, and people were coming up, and it's like, these 2 kids don't know how to ride a bike. And it's like, well, now's not the time when we're leaving in 20 minutes. But a kid that doesn't know how to ride a bike is at a disadvantage. And so to have a traffic garden program could be really great. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. I've already mentioned bike mode. How do I get back to the drive? Yeah. I'm a Mac guy, so I'm on this PC, so it's like a whole different world. So, thanks. Just going to share a few thoughts on this, and I don't know how to make this bigger.
Full screen mode. Yeah.
Full screen mode. There we go. All right. Hey, thank you very much. Okay, I'm just going to breeze through these highlights, and then I'll answer any questions, and we can kick around things. The community survey, 162 total people responded. That was amazing. Many of these people have been to places that are ahead of where Urbana are. One person said, I grew up in the Netherlands. But other people have been in Davis and other places, and they're excited about what's here, but they also know where we can go. And so they've been adding suggestions. And these are rich responses. I think there's a lot to think about this. This is the qualitative side of a report that has a lot of quantitative data. Okay, every time I read more enforcement, and there was cars need to be enforced, cyclists need enforcement, in my mind, I changed that to we need better roadway design. We don't need more tickets, more officers doing that. If your design is right, people are going to ride appropriately. So any place we see enforcement in there, we can solve that with better roadway design. When it said education, motorists, educate kids, I can tell you, we could do that all day and we're still going to have the same reality. If you're in a big car and you're trying to get someplace and the road lets you go fast, you're going to go fast. And that's true for me too, right? But if the road is designed so that I'm traveling at a speed that just makes sense, I'm going to travel at a safe speed. And so it's not, bicycle education is important, and what we're doing with driver's ed is really important, but the answer really is not more education, it's better roadway design. When people just automatically know how to drive there. So if you see those words in the survey, just think, we can solve that with design, and that's exciting. Okay, somebody wrote this sentence I thought was really good. Urbana's streets are still auto-centric, overbuilt, and posted for speeds that are too high. I think there's a lot of truth in that. It's a great summary statement. Streets are for people. Pedestrians, cyclists, kids, buses, transportation, and cars, and delivery. So as we think about everybody, we would design our streets differently. We got lots of opportunities for road diets to make streets more appropriate for all kinds of people to use it, and if we could match what's happening around the campus at 25 miles per hour, it's happening in Savoy, it's happening in St. Joe. This would be, the quality of life would go up, the incidence of crashes would go down. It's just a good way to go. So that's in there. What are people asking for? That our bike lanes become protected. We need to think what that would look like. And that includes then, how do you sweep the streets if you have concrete, dividers in there? Well, I mean, they make small street sweepers. We have to think about that, but we can get there. Why do people want more bike paths? I'm excited that Baker's Lane and Florida Avenue are coming in the next year. And as we get the KRT to come into the community and then farther through, we're gonna have more bike paths. So we're moving in that direction. We just need to keep looking for opportunities and reducing speeds. So looking ahead, bicycle mode share, I think, is a great place to say what's our target and how are we gonna get there. The economics and quality of life factors that come with a shift to using bikes or e-bikes. And when I'm saying bicycles, I really ought to just take a moment just to say that e-bikes are a huge part of our future. It's where a lot of our non-cyclists now are going to become cyclists. We should embrace every part of having e-bikes as a part of our community. But then can ripple through positive ways economically for our communities and for quality of life factors. Kids and bikes, we got to work hard on that area, and the bike share and equity programs go together, so a great opportunity there. I think my last thought is that we have felt with Champaign County Bikes in that we represent a community that is gold and silver, Champaign and us and Urbana and the U of I. We have some responsibilities to help other parts of Illinois. So a year ago, as we were thinking what's some of the most important things we can do, we decided to bring the Illinois Bike Summit back to Champaign and to make it big and to bring all those leaders here and to get the NACTO training in our community and to work with strong towns, because we got some resources here to share. And we took people on tours of the infrastructure in Urbana. Lily did that. We did the same thing in Champaign. We were showing people all over the state what we've got here. And I think Urbana can also take up that opportunity to lead as you go to your planning meetings, as you have, a bunch of people all went up to the Constitution Trail, right? To see that network. The planners were inviting them there. We can also invite people here and lead in the state. So, and I think we could also do that to change the laws in Illinois so it's easier to make 25 miles per hour or less the standard. So those are my quick thoughts. I think it's good news. I think it's a good place to mine this information, to look at the recommendations, and to put that into our plans in the future.
Thank you. Anyone have questions for Jeff?
This is a quick skim. Sarthak's right in the middle of, you learn a lot when you do this kind of an audit on yourself, and you go, hey, that's pretty good, and yeah, we still have to work in this area. And so I think this is what it is, giving us a template for how to move ahead in Urbana, on towards Platinum, on towards the kind of community that we want to live in, we want our kids to live in, we want all Urbana to live in. So,
Do you have any thoughts how we would move ahead? There's a lot of call for protected bike lanes, but these things cost quite a bit of money in street design. How would we move ahead given the fiscal constraints that Urbana has? What chance is there for us to achieve a platinum level compared to a Davis or Boulder or even Naperville?
It may be an 8-year goal. We may have to keep working there. There are some faster, cheaper, quicker, what was that she was talking about? Protected bike lanes, the little plexiglass, or not, plexiposts, are fairly cheap. Does that protect you from a car moving over? No. But what's irritating to a lot of cyclists, delivery vehicles right in the middle of your bike lane, and now forces you out around that where somebody doesn't see you near oncoming traffic, where somebody else may not be looking for you, right? So it will keep a UPS truck or a Gordon food truck from parking right where we have said we've got a lot of cyclists and we're going to give them priority. So there are some things. I think yeah. Yeah, I think there's opportunities to do some piloting and try some stuff. The problem with, if we don't have the state law that lets us set 25 miles per hour as a standard, we have to sign everywhere, right? And that's prohibitively costly and confusing. But that doesn't mean that we can't sign some streets and just choose to lower the speed there and do it maybe in a certain neighborhood and see how people like that and give us feedback. So there are places we can pilot and move in this direction while we're looking maybe for more funding or whatever it's going to take to move ahead.
You know how the university did the university district?
How they did that?
Yeah, because it's 25 miles per hour university district are the signs throughout the university.
That's a good, I don't know the answer. They own their streets. I don't know how that jurisdiction-wise.
But still state of Illinois.
Orchard Downs is at 20 miles an hour. 20? Yes. They re-signed Orchard Downs to 20.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure how they got to do that. I can look around, I can ask
Maybe we shouldn't ask
Stacy.
too many questions.
I
Yeah.
think signs are cheap.
Yeah. And another thing, like we've been talking about, so we've been talking about like road diets. So for instance, like on Oak Street, we've been trying to, like Oak Street from Kirby to St. Mary's, that's still a pretty wide, like with 2 lanes both ways, right? We're doing a feasibility study right now to make it more bicycle and pedestrian friendly. And one of the ways is doing a road diet. And again, like with road diets, it's mostly just painting the street, like moving the lanes.
Reallocating
Yeah,
space.
reallocating space. So that's not that expensive, but again, like it depends on area to area, like where you can or cannot do based on ADTs and everything. So that's something that I'm seeing right now. Like I'm working towards that. So maybe Urbana could look at least some of these areas. And again, like with the 25 miles per hour speed limit, I think that's a very good idea. Again, not achievable everywhere, but at least
There are many states
Yeah.
that have a 25 mile per hour residential speed limit, so it's definitely not unheard of in
And the
this
big cities
country.
are doing it. Boston, Washington, the speed limits are coming down. Well, in small ones too.
yeah.
I want to hear Thomas, and I know you guys. So thanks. One of the things that we have going is you guys, that we have a BPAC commission, and the mayor is very appreciative. We've got a good history, so thank you for all you're doing. But a lot of this is very doable. The 3-point line is nothing but a stripe of paint on a basketball court, and it changed the game of basketball, right? And so we can do a lot to continue to make this a better city just by reallocating space, changing a few things.
Oh,
And I think-
Thomas, I'm sorry. You should come up and start putting your thing on while we're still
Yep,
talking.
there you go.
I should have thought of that.
All right.
Jeff, can you just
Thank you very much.
help him maybe, or Thomas, you need to move your presentation too, or do you have a? Oh, it may be already located? Okay.
It was partly attachments, so I want to assume that
I don't know whether it was downloaded to the computer or not. Assuming that you want to show it while
I
you.
do. I would like to show. it,
Yeah. Okay. I would just comment also, just to keep the conversation going. I went through the couple questions. What should the community do to be more bike-friendly? And again, as you saw in those survey responses, it's bike lanes and protected bike lanes. But the people who mentioned speed, although it came up as only 12%, if you go through those individual comments, you know,
Thomas, he's looking for it. It's not on
dozens
there.
of
Sorry.
highlights on every page about it. Are you ready, or?
I am not ready.
Thomas sent in the presentation, but it's not, he sent it ahead of time, but
Do
it
do you
didn't
have
make
the
it to the
ability to
computer.
load it on there, or you don't
I
have?
do not.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
But it would be interesting to see how protected things could be made within the affordability of life on Oak Street too, because just paint is one thing, and
Yeah, what a wonderful opportunity to demo some of those quick build ideas, those pilot programs that there's grants around even to get. I don't know if a university, at least one university did coordinate with a local, that was in Starksville, I believe.
Yeah.
And is there any
Coordinated with a-
discussion for like St. Mary's Road? Because
Yes, there
That'd
are
be amazing.
discussions, but again, like, it's going to need a lot of funding, and there is some space constraint, but again, like, it's in our plans. Like, with St. Mary's Road, we'll probably do a shared use path, but then again, like, it's going to be,
I see so many people walking and hiking, like it's a nice way to get out, you know,
it's a fairly narrow street.
it's very narrow. Yeah, which I think is good.
Yeah,
The
it
car-
is good.
the cars
but
don't get up to
people
speed.
still, zoom past you over there.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if they couldn't do that rural road infrastructure, which is the car like drives kind of in the middle essentially, and then the car has to share the space, and then the pedestrians and cyclists get the exterior of the space. Because there's not that many cars that use the space, honestly.
Yeah. Well, again, like, something that will be looked into, I'm sure, like, whenever there's a study for it.
You're all good. You're all good.
Thank you, John.
All right. Can you all hear me well? Okay. Okay. All right. Can you hear me well? Okay. So, hi everyone. Want to start this? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just to introduce myself, my name is Thomas Valencia. I am the Safe Routes to School intern at the Champaign-Urbana MTD. I wasn't planning on mentioning this, but I also hold a position with the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission. They are not related to this presentation that I'm going to deliver, but I do want to just say on behalf of RPC, thank you all for the wonderful comments, the mayor and everybody who has complimented the RPC. I haven't been there as long as all the staff members that have been there that have done all the good work, but just as the RPC person in the room, I would just like to thank you all for, your appreciation. They do a lot of work, and I literally hold two positions. I am doing two jobs, as the mayor alluded to, so that is happening. So, but to the presentation I'm about to give tonight is, as part of the Safe Routes to School project that I do with Cynthia Hoyle, we do a campaign called People for Safe Streets. This was started shortly before I got on, back like in 2021. And we have this Vision Zero wiki map that was launched thanks to our 2019 Safe Routes to School grant we got from IDOT. And what this map allows people to do is to pinpoint a location in the community where they believe there is a deficiency regarding our active transportation infrastructure. And the whole goal of this is to achieve Vision Zero and see where we need to put our attention towards. So for those who don't know what Vision Zero is, it is a strategy to eliminate all traffic fatalities and severe injuries while increasing safe, healthy, and equitable mobility for all. And although it does say February 2023, that is when we actually did start the actual outreach. This online map has actually been open since July of 2021, so we do have data going as far as that time period. And we specifically reached out to two groups, Curbanism or Sioux Urbanism and the Chambana Moms. They put this wiki map onto their newsletters, and in total, we received 105 comments across Champaign-Urbana and Savoy, targeting areas related to crash incidents, route barriers, improvement proposals, among other action items. And this is just a short overview of what Vision Zero is in comparison to the traditional approach that is taken by communities. This is from the Vision Zero Network organization. Same thing here, safe systems equals safe mobility. If we change road design and education, we will achieve Vision Zero. And then one thing I do want to highlight is that, you know, I'm not from Urbana. I'm not native to Urbana. I'm from Zion, Illinois, which is a far northern suburb of Chicago along the Wisconsin state line. So between Waukegan and Kenosha. And I never biked anywhere. I never did. You know, it's a tendency in the suburbs to bike on the sidewalk or bike against the, you know, traffic. If I were to bike to my high school, it would take me at least 40 minutes. And for some people, it would be an hour because of how spread out it is. There are 3 suburbs that feed into my high school. It's not any better in Wisconsin, which I'm really close to. So when I moved down here, I was in awe. And I think this place is paradise, in my opinion. Like, I have biked more in the last 2 years than I have in my entire life. I bike to work, to RPC and to MTD. I bike to visit friends. I biked to class when I was still a student. So, you know, I want to thank everybody way before me for everything they've done to make this community for what it is. You know, coming to a gold level status doesn't come without any, its challenges. And some of the past efforts I do want to highlight is that this commission in particular passed the Vision Zero resolution, I think in January of 2020, and recommended it to City Council, and then the City Council went ahead and passed it in October 2020. Similarly, the Co-ops Policy and Tech Committees passed their own Vision Zero resolution in 2023, and that's incorrect, in September 2022. And then additionally, there have been a lot of plans that have been made. The RPC made their Urban Area Safety Plan, which was amended in September 2023 for the SS4A grant. Urbana has a bike plan, a master plan, and a bike wayfinding plan. So there's plenty of plans out there. There's also a lot of campaigns and education. CU Bike Month happens every year, except for COVID, of course. And, you know, encouragement to go to bike to work, light the night so you can be safe while you bike and at nighttime. And then the thing I do with Safe Routes to School, we do walk and roll to school day, bike and roll to school day, snow walk, snow roll program. I didn't have these when I was in elementary school, so I'm pretty jealous. And then, of course, the physical infrastructure, the MCOR project being the biggest one. We see the new infrastructure on Green Street and on Wright Street. And then even going as far back as 2005, when Lincoln Avenue got their first road diet, Philo Road giving a complete streets redesign along with Goodwin Avenue back in the mid to late 2000s. And even as recently as last year, the Lincoln and Main protected crosswalks that were installed. And as the mayor mentioned, the city is going to get an ITEP grant for a south side path on Florida Avenue between Race and Lincoln as part of the Florida Avenue corridor study. And then also, as previously mentioned, SS4A grant submitted by RPC. The Safe Routes to School project is planning to apply for a Safe Routes to School grant from IDOT this coming fall. And then, of course, the previously mentioned ITEP grants that the mayor mentioned. And another thing is VO. This community, bike sharing a community this size is, for me, unheard of. I'm kind of jealous because when I go home to my suburb, I would like to take a VO to my house from the train station, but that is currently not possible. So those are just existing conditions, so to speak, on the community. And the first category of this Vision Zero wiki mapping outreach that we did, I want to point out, is barriers and incidents. And what we're looking at is the Champaign-Urbana Central Core, which includes both downtowns and the university. So there are currently 4 different types of categories. There's a biking barrier, a walking barrier, an issue with an automobile, and then an actual incident. So as you can see, there's a lot, in the central core, there's a lot of places where people indicated these problems. You could say that that has a lot to do with the density in the area. That's where most people live. That's where most of the students are. But as you can see, particularly in the Champaign side of Wright Street, there's a lot of issues here. Not as many in Urbana. That's one thing I want to point out is there is a reason why Urbana's gold and Champaign is silver, I will say. So, and this kind of exemplifies that. A lot of people have a lot of it, especially on Green Street. Green Street, there are bike lanes, but of course people have a lot of issues there. And then same category, but this is Eastern Urbana. This is pretty much the same thing you saw on the previous map, but there is an individual that indicated a biking barrier when it came to biking out to the Riggs Beer Company. And then this is Western Champaign. Obviously, Western Champaign's Champaign's periphery has more issues than Urbana's periphery. So I just want to point that one out. And then here are some highlighted comments I wanted to read out. Obviously, there are 105. I'm not going to read all of them, but these are a few that I want to mention to you all. The first one is from an individual who said, quote, cars, mainly food delivery, but not always, routinely park on the bike lanes on Green Street between 5th and Wright. I was so excited to have dedicated bike lanes added, but honestly, it's more dangerous now than it was before when cars would park in the center lane. Now, as a cyclist, I'm forced to merge with traffic whenever a car is in the bike lane. So I wanted to point out that comment, mainly to emphasize the point that even though we have the infrastructure, people are still not satisfied. And in this case, people actually feel like even more unsafe than before. The next comment I wanted to mention is from an individual who said, quote, Kohler is a popular north-south bike route, but at least once a month, I notice cars on California that completely blow past the stop sign, which is especially dangerous since Kohler does not have a stop sign. The signs on California are obvious, including the, quote, cross traffic does not stop, but perhaps a stop stripe on the pavement would help. That's something just to recommend to the city to potentially consider. The third comment, quote, saying, quote, the crosswalk button to cross Lincoln on the southwest, on the southwest corner. Keep in mind, I try to keep the authenticity of these comments, so I apologize for the grammatical error if there appears to be some. But yeah, the comment goes on to say, but there's no sidewalk from the retreat to there. You have to go north of the drive, then cross drive to the south, put a sidewalk on the south side of the driveway and or crosswalk to the north side to cross Lincoln. I apologize for the jargon with that one, but that one is mainly on North Lincoln Avenue near the retreat. Assuming the SS4A grant is awarded, I would hope that that person's concerns would be addressed. And then the final comment for this category I would like to mention is, quote, crossing Lincoln feels like playing Frogger. Sometimes one lane of traffic stops for a pedestrian, but the other lane's traffic doesn't. I've also witnessed traffic stop in both directions for a pedestrian, but then the driver passes in the middle turn lane and I've almost caused a collision with a pedestrian. This is at the Lincoln and Main crosswalks, again, to emphasize that even with new infrastructure, some people still feel insecure and, dissatisfied. And then this is incidents. This is in particular incidents. So this one says they were hit by a car and did not stop because they did not stop at a stop sign. This was actually in Champaign, but I just still wanted to put that there to emphasize that people have been hit. The next one is also in Champaign. Just to, summarize that one, they said that a Jeep Wrangler going west took a left turn on right and cut their friends off. Well, the light was green, and then the driver hit them. Their back was bruised for a month. His bike was damaged, and his computer was broken. And then they said that the police didn't do anything about it. And then the third comment has to do with cars just refusing to yield, despite the fact that the Illinois driving handbook mentions that you have to yield to a pedestrian. The third comment is also in Champaign, but they talk about how there's a shared use pass on the north side of Windsor Road, and that cars do not look when people turn right, headed east on Windsor, turning right onto northbound Mattis for bikes and peds in that path, and that the right lane on Windsor ends there, and that it exacerbates the problem as it becomes the de facto right turn lane perhaps a sign reminding drivers that bicycles and pedestrians crossing madness have the right of way during a green light. Obviously, that's something you would give to Champaign to address, but just wanted to mention it here. And then this last one occurred at Edison Middle School near downtown Champaign. A person said they were doored by a car at school pickup while cycling past near the end of the school day. So I put that one there because that somewhat relates to the Safe Routes to School initiative that I work with. So the second category I wanted to show is routes. The blue is a route that people currently take, and the dotted red is a preferred route that people would take. One thing I would like to point out is that people ride where there is no infrastructure. For example, Lincoln Avenue. For example, University Avenue going into Champaign. So, or this actually was me going into MTD from the back through the railroad crossing. Yeah, because when I was first hired at MTD, I was scared that I would have to go on University Avenue. But then Cynthia Hoyle mentioned that I could go through the back. Although there was one, at least once a month, there was a train there, so I did have to use University Avenue anyway. But still, the fact that I have to cross railroad tracks in a sense illegally, also just that doesn't sit well with me. But anyway, to go over the preferred routes that people would like to take, not many were submitted, but some went to Florida Avenue. I would hope that the ITEP grant would help, address this. But someone also said that they would like to take, I want to think that's, I don't know the road, Vine? Yeah, that's Vine. Yeah, this is Anderson. People want to use Vine. Vine has no infrastructure. Same thing in Champaign. People want to use McKinley Avenue, and there's no infrastructure. And then, so, I do appreciate the whole work that everyone in the community has done. Highlighted in green is the infrastructure, but people still want to take more direct routes to where they want to go. So that's just one thing I wanted to point out. Same thing in Western Champaign. I guess this is the Round Barn area. People want to have a bike route to go out there. And then our one and only comment from Savoy, someone mentioned they wanted to take a route down over past Colbert Park to the south. I know Savoy was awarded an ITEP grant for a path. I don't recall where that's going to be, so I'm not aware if that will address this, but just to point that out. And for the comments regarding routes, the first one says crossing Prospect is terrible, and that most of the route is plagued by buzzing and speeding. The second one being that Lincoln Avenue is a major thoroughfare for vehicles while also being a major crossing point for pedestrians, especially young children attending daycare. We need better safety precautions as traffic tends to be high during rush hour, coinciding with pickup and drop off for daycare. Third comment saying, quote, intermittent bike lanes require cyclists to merge into traffic. Share lanes are fine, but most of the time I end up just staying in the lane rather than migrating over to the bike lane, so I don't have to worry about merging back in when the bike lane turns into parking. The fourth comment saying a safe path to access the new U of I path along First Street that extends to Curtis Road. This would give families, kids, students biking access to the U of I for classes, events, and summer camps. That fourth comment is actually the Savoy dotted red line that you saw. So at least I would hope that the Savoy ITEP grant that was awarded would address that. Yeah. So I'm assuming that this is Curtis Road. So this data is old, I will say. So the new path. Yeah. So because I actually biked here a couple of weeks ago just for fun, and I was kind of scared. So
Savoy, they recently got this $20 million grant for Curtis Road for a redesign from, what is it, First to Prospect, right? First to Prospect Street. Okay, so it should connect to the First Street sidewalk as well.
I know they were awarded a raise grant for the separation with the Canadian National. but I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
I think
Yeah.
that is the same grant, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for the underpass.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that would be up here, but I don't think that would help with here. But that's still important, and that's still great. So, but yeah, and then these last two comments saying, quote, the section of road on Florida and then north on Vine is extremely unsafe for bikers and or e-scooters. There are no protected lanes, and that the road, especially on Florida, is very narrow, so there is not a lot of safety, especially as many fast-moving cars use these roads as thoroughfares. Again, this comment is the Florida and Vine red line here. So the ITEP grant will address the Florida problem, but I am not aware of anything related to adding infrastructure on Vine, but people would like that. And then this last one, it says, quote, I would like a route to school that crosses several major roads, Springfield University, Church, and Prospect, without accessible crosswalks. Minimal traffic calming features on these streets encourages motorists to drive in excess of posted speed limits. Again, that's a Champaign-oriented comment, but just something I wanted to bring up. And then this last slide, just solutions. The first two main, the first three bullet points are just things I came up with. Just innovative and progressive infrastructure on top of the infrastructure we already have, which is pretty great. Concrete barriers, bollards, full striping of lanes. And what I mean by full striping, I mean like making them completely green, for example, not just white. And maybe in regards to buses, like making the bus only lanes red-ish. I don't know what the color is exactly. And then wayfinding signage, implement the Urbana wayfinding plan. And then traffic calming, as Jeff mentioned earlier, reducing the roadway width of certain corridors, reducing speeds, and building roundabouts or traffic circles at non-signalized four-way stops. I will say, I know I criticized my home area, but one thing that Kenosha County and Lake County do have are roundabouts. So, it's possible in the Midwest.
Well, a funny story about the Wisconsin roundabout situation you experienced is Wisconsin started putting them in because they know they're a ton safer. People complained, and then they just presented the data, and they said, here's the thing, this many more people are alive because we put in roundabouts. In 1 year, we've saved this many lives, we've saved this, and now everybody in Wisconsin's like, I like the roundabouts. So they take a while for people to get used to using them, but once they're in, they're a no-brainer. Everyone loves them.
Yeah, and when I bike to RPC, I go through Philo and Washington, and I hate that a lot. So I understand there are issues with roundabouts such as land acquisition and eminent domain and that whole problem, but I feel like there are some locations in the community that can happen. Washington and Learman sometimes comes to mind. Washington and High Cross comes to mind.
I would just also like to add, I was recently talking, I didn't even bring this up. Someone's like, what are with those orange blinky lights on University Avenue? I won't even drive my car there anymore because of the orange blinky lights. And they mean those orange arrows that were, at a cost of $50,000 per install. They put these orange blinky arrows that go while a person's in the crosswalk. Instead of putting in roundabouts on University Avenue or traffic circles, they did a ridiculous sum of money for all this infrastructure. And honestly, I did not bring this up, but there was like 10 people all being like, what are with those that orange blinky thing? It's terrible. And maybe 5 years from now, IDOT's gonna say, wow, look at all the safety improvement. We've saved lots of lives and we've done, but I seriously doubt it. I suspect they'll be turning them off, but I just want to add that in. And we at BPAC, we're very clear about, we do not want the orange blinky lights.
We want roundabouts.
I believe those were piloted in Minnesota, I think. They tested them and came up with good statistics. Okay.
I did trash my home area, but Kenosha County also has those. So
We
I will
need
say that.
to move on. Are you finished?
Yeah,
with
I am
your-
finished. This is the last area. I mean, this is the last
Thank you
slide.
very much.
Yeah.
That is just absolutely excellent work. And I especially like that you reached out to a different groups than we had ever thought of, the
Yeah.
Shambana moms.
Of
It's-
course, yeah. This is separate data from IDOT, separate data from the police. This is this is from actual people directly to us. So we're not.
And it was startling to see how many of the things we've talked about were represented there. Yeah, it's like, okay, we all have the answer. We all know what the complaints are, what's missing besides money.
But yeah, that is all that I have for you all.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we have announcements. Does anyone have announcements to make?
A real quick one. I got contacted last Friday by Kara. She wanted me to join a conversation with Park District officials about e-bikes. So I'll be talking on Thursday via Zoom to Derek Labert and Keenan Portis and Kara. I made it clear that I'm going to do it as a concerned citizen, not as some designated representative of this committee. We're the 5 entities that have a stake in this are starting from scratch in terms of developing a coordinated accommodation for e-bikes and e-scooters throughout the area. And so if this helps boost the thing along in some small way, great. If you like, I can come back and report the gist of this at the next meeting.
Wow, that's really interesting. Is Champaign Park District also moving ahead on that topic, or?
Not that I know of. That's the thing. We've got to get Urbana Park District, Champaign Park District, Champaign and Urbana, and the University of Illinois talking to each other. And as far as I know, that's not happening yet. And we're going to need to do it quickly.
Thank you. Anybody else with communication? Annie. All right.
I have an announcement. This weekend is something called the Urbana Amble Front Yard Garden and Art Tour. And, this activity can happen because we live in a dense community that is bikeable and walkable. And the Front Yard Garden and Art Tour is people submit basically art or their garden, and they'll come up with like a name for it and a short description. And then, as the mayor suggested, people will be putting, you see that yellow stick with the green on top? People put those painted sticks in their front lawn. And you go out and you walk around and you try to find the sticks. And here is a map. This is a digital map. So if you want to walk around, you can go this way. And some of these have pictures in them. So Pop-Up Prairie, which I believe the mayor's husband actually had something to do with. This is University of Illinois. It's a 2.7 acre, 8-foot tall turf grass to prairie restoration project. And this is Norakua. I don't know how to say it out loud, a pollinator pocket. And so you just kind of walk around and you get to see different things. This year there will be gardener hours. So you'll see this one, an example, has gardener hours Sunday, noon to 1:30. And you can stop by and ask the gardener what they're up to. There is a printable map that is available. You can either print it up yourself or you can stop by the farmer's market from 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. We'll be handing them out. We actually ran out of them last week. We really, guess we didn't know, we didn't get it. We ran out. So anyway, it's a 2-page printable. So if you want to, like someone like me, you just kind of want to walk around with a printed map, leave the phone at home, you can. That QR code does take you to this Urbana Amble website. And we are supporting the Sola Gracia farm expansion. And so at 4 o'clock, we are going to be ambling and looking at the new 29-acre expansion of Sola Gracia farm. So that is, I think, all I've got for that. So check it out. There's some pretty fun social media going along with it, too.
Annie, could you send that to me? I'll post it on the bike website.
Oh, for sure I will. Absolutely. I'm the head ambler, just to let you know.
Thank you. Who's the sponsor of this, Annie? If you'd care to give credit where credit's due.
The sponsor is a committee of 2. who will remain anonymous.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Okay. We're running out of time. Quickly, future topics.
Oh,
If-
I have some
I will send an
announcements.
email out soliciting topics also, but did
I
you
have
have
some
another
announcements.
announcements? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
So as Jeff mentioned, I'm working on our bike-friendly university application, which is due August 10th, and I'm also working on the bike plan, but we've already talked about that, I think. Just today, I got confirmation from Lily that she would be willing to, she would be happy to help Cynthia teach a Learn How to Ride class for university students. So we'll be hosting one in mid-August, before students come back. And based on the response we get, we'll see if we want to host another one in the fall semester, or spring semester, or something like that. So, yeah, I think, oh, another one. In the last month, Bird has reached out to us. I don't know if they've reached out to Urbana or not. Jeff told me that they had reached out to Champaign, right? So Bird wants to bring their bike share here, and like we had our introductory meeting. We being me and Stacy had an introductory meeting with them last month, and we may be doing a demo soon on campus, and then we'll see. Again, like if everything goes well, then we'll see what or when they can come here. It will also be a class 1 e-bike bike share, and yeah, so that's
Scooters?
no scooters. Yep. And the VO bike share pilot is going to end on August 7th. I will be sending out a survey for university responses for like faculty, staff, students to let us know how the pilot went, and then we'll analyze the results and see if we want to make that permanent or what to do next.
Thank you. Okay, are there any future topics anyone wants to offer right now? I'll send out an email and people can reply, not to all for discussion, but individually if they have ideas for next month.
I throw it out that if maybe we revisit our BPAC goals, make an annual update to those.
Excellent idea.
I think
Yeah.
we intended to, and I totally forgot about that.
I have
for
them
this
right here.
agenda.
So it is a good time to look at that. Okay,
Also, tell your friends if they want to join BPAC, we have 3 vacancies.
we have 3 vacancies now.
3 vacancies. Yeah. I mean, the Park District will be sending, they do have a planner they will be sending. So I guess I really should say we have 2 vacancies for sure.
And I might say I recently resigned from my position at MTD and took a planning position at City of Champaign. And I think part of the reason I was appointed to this commission was to coordinate MTD and bicycle community. I want to stay on as an at-large member representing private citizen Dan, but if I need to vacate the position to open up way for someone from MTD, I'm happy to.
We do not call for an MTD
Yeah,
member
there's
in our
not
bylaw.
technically a MTD
Yeah.
seat.
So being a private citizen is just A-okay with us.
As long as you don't take any more Urbana staff, that's okay.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.